Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We are back. Okay, so today is going to be a relatively, from an animation point, it's going to be a relatively simple day. We are going to take the animation that we worked on yesterday, and we're going to randomize it, and I'll show you how I do that, and then like a trick to just make everything sort of seamless in terms of the looping and things like that. But before we get to that, got a cool little ping out on Twitter today. Here is a project that somebody's been working on. Talha. I'm just bringing up my cursor. Here we go. Check it out. Made with Adobe XD and create with Flow. So what's really cool is Talha has figured out that you can now put Flow files, like Lottie files exported from Flow, into XD. You have to modify it a little bit to get it in, but that's okay. They just released this feature the other day, and check it out. This is the animation. It's a header animation made in Flow. It's super cool. All right, nicely done. If anybody else has any projects that they want to show, we will put them up here and we'll tell everybody about it. We will link your animation in the in the show notes, and we'll also publish it in the Flow channel as well. And so we'll start to help you get your work out there. So this is really cool. Thank you, Talha, for sharing this. All right. And we are actually, in just a word on that, Talha, we are going to figure out, XD just got in touch with me, we are going to figure out how to modify our Lottie files to make them work with XD. Okay. So let's have a look at what we were doing yesterday. Here is our Flow animation. This is what we were working on. Okay, let's press Command 2. Like this. There we go. Okay, so that was the animation that we made. Today, we're going to randomize it. All right, so often audio waveform, kind of like what we were looking at yesterday, is going to have, it's not going to be super symmetric like this. This kind of animation that we were just looking at, and I believe it's in CarPlay. CarPlay has this little icon when it's playing. This little icon is going up and down. It's just an icon to show that it's playing. So something like this that's smooth and repetitive and isn't going to distract from the eye. This kind of thing is actually quite good for, you know, the subtle UI, just showing you that something's happening while you're doing something else. But often what people will want, especially if you're like registering audio or doing something like that, you want it to feel a little bit more responsive to your voice or responsive to the sound that is coming out. So what I am going to do is show you how to randomize it. So let's do it. Okay, pretty simple technique. First, I'm just going to duplicate my yesterday's timeline, and I'm going to call this basic meter randomized. And that's just how I like to spell things. And what we're going to do is we're just going to turn on relative mode. We are going to get rid of basically all our animations. Okay, we're just going to do this. And yeah, this is good. I'm going to start the animation from the same position. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the playhead. I'm going to select one of these layers. And I am going to press, I'm going to just change the endpoints here. Oh, let's undo relative mode. Let's turn it on. Let's change the endpoint. We're going to go down. We're going to move. We're going to press shift and down. We're leaving the cursor in here. All we're doing is moving the cursor over here, down. And it doesn't really matter where these values get to. We're just moving the cursor, pressing shift and down. And then we're going over here, pressing shift, and down, shift and down, shift and down. And so what's happening, okay, I'm just going to undo this again. We're trying to get some randomization in here. What happens, all right, is that the first time our endpoint is at 1, and I press shift and down, and that changes it to 0.9. And now that animation is actually animating from here all the way. So it's actually changing its value. Okay, and so as I move that cursor and I let go and I press shift down, right? That value is changing. I press shift down and it's grabbing the new value sort of from the animated value. And I can go back and forth and I can do this kind of thing. And I can bring it down a little bit more, bring it down, bring it way down, something like this. Bring it up by pressing shift up, that kind of thing. And you don't need to have like a ton of crazy moments in there. So now what I like to do is I select everything and I'm going to distribute that. And now, you see that? We get this nice random looking effect. Okay, so I could do that for each one of these as well. But what I actually like to do is I like to go and then copy that. And now I'm going to take all of those and I'm just going to press paste. Oops, not all of them. All except for the middle one. I don't need the middle one because I already did the animations on it. Okay, so now they're all going to have the same animations. All right, so where's the randomization in that? There isn't any yet. Okay. Well, I mean, there's a little bit, but it's all uniform. So how do I get rid of that uniformity? Well, I start taking key values and I just start moving them around. I'm just dragging some over to here and some back here, and it doesn't really matter where I place them. I can even grab, for instance, I can area select these ones right here, and I can drag those ones sort of back and forth. I can area select a bunch of them and move them into place like that. I can grab these ones and move them like that. And then what I can do is I can Command A and I'm going to distribute them all. The easiest way to do that is to just sort of select everything, not the entire track. You just select everything in the middle and then distribute. Now we're starting to get a little bit more random. I can select everything on a single track and distribute again. And all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get random key values into random places, sort of like that. I'm going to move these ones this way a little bit, and I'm going to just like shift these all around, kind of like that. Now I'm going to, on an individual basis, I'm going to go and I'm going to press shift and click on the last key value. And then I'm going to distribute that. And now I'm going to have a look at what my animations are going to look like. Okay, shift and select. And there we go. And now, there we go. That's what my animation looks like. 3 and 4 are really close together. I'm not a super fan of those. So let's just take a point like this, and 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 just shuffle that order again, and distribute. Shift and distribute. There we go. There we go. So we're getting there. Okay. We're getting there. And they all end at the same place. What we can do is we can bring this one back, and this one back, and this one back. And then maybe what we can do is distribute again. Shift, distribute. Shift, distribute, and then bring this one forward, shift, distribute. Let's get rid of you. Let's go like that. Shift, distribute, and one more. So, okay, that's it. This is sort of what I do And now that's great. Now also what I can do is I can say, you know what, I want these timings to be just a little bit off. So I am going to just randomly pick a couple to delete from each one. And we're going to delete 3 from one, 2 from 2 of them. We're going to delete 1 from one and leave 1 completely whole. And we're going to do that shift distribute again. And what this is, it's just going to offset the timing between them so they don't look entirely identical and periodic. Just like this. I think this one is the one that has all of them. Here is one with 1 deleted. We got a little Celtic music going on in the background. Can you hear that? And then we're going to distribute, and there we go. So we're getting this little pop at the end. Okay. We're getting this little pop at the end. See that? It sort of like pops up. And I'm not a fan of it. Let's just look at it slowly. Oops, press shift and click. That's the faster way. And what'll happen is, see, it's just, this is what's going on. And now here, pop. It just pops right up. Now that's because these key values are not the same as these key values. It's super easy to fix. What we're going to do is we're just going to delete all of the ones at the beginning. We're going to select. We're going to drag these to the front and then press the Option key and let go. And now we're going to get this seamless repetition. And since it doesn't start at like an even height, it's going to look a little bit more random when we hit play. There you go. Let's zoom that out. Okay. Straightforward today. All right, so the other thing that we can do, we could even say select all of those. We could make them all now. Let's do this. Let's collapse that one back in. Let's make them all linear. Let's see how that looks. Could do that. Changes the motion just a little bit. We could make them all ease out. Okay. And we could play with these a little bit more too. So what we could do, we could even give them all a little bit of a back. But I'm not a real fan of that. It makes it too poppy in here, and I think that anything other than the eases, maybe even sine, is a little bit too fast. It just makes it a little bit too jittery for me. So I'm quite happy with the ease out on all of them. And we do something like that. Okay. But personal preference, right? All right, I mean, that is it for today. That is mainly how you can randomize things. Is shifting, distributing, deleting a file from here to there, moving the key values over so that, the main trick is to have your animations happening, and then you're moving the playhead, and then with the cursor inside of one of the stroke start, stroke end here, we're using the stroke end. You're just pressing shift and down, or you're just moving, or you're just changing those values a little bit, because what's happening is as it's animating and you move the timeline playhead, the value is changing because it's animating from one place to another. Okay, and so you can start to get these like random moments in time rather than these like sort of, you know, on key every 1/10 of a second. We're moving it by a 1/10 up and down. Sometimes it's moving to 0.76 or 6.1 or 8.1 or 0.13, that kind of thing. And then guarantee that the beginning and the end have the exact same key values. That helps us with the looping, but also not having them be in this really recognizable state. So they were all as tall as possible at the end or at the beginning, and we shifted that so that by the end they were in this odd sort of state, and then we just copied the key values to the beginning. We deleted the ones at the beginning, copied the ones back over by pressing Option and dragging them all to the end. And now you have this nice sort of randomized waveform. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at two different techniques for working with lines and animating those as complete paths to create a waveform tomorrow. All right, so today was an easy one, and we'll see you tomorrow.